Namaste. Today we are going to learn and practice a few breathing techniques which will be appropriate for people who are very sick with COVID, especially with COVID, and who are maybe in hospital and their oxygen levels are not improving. They're either constantly or nearly constantly on oxygen support. So how can they improve the capacity of their own lungs to breathe more efficiently and oxygenate at a higher rate without the help of oxygen? So it will take some time and practice, but without that, it will be even harder and will take longer to improve our own breathing efficiency. So we can help the body heal. The medicines will do their work, the physiotherapists and your doctors will do the work that they have to do, but you can help in that by doing a few simple exercises. So let's start. The main idea, the principle behind breathing and increasing the capacity of the lungs is to understand that in normal breathing, we only use a small part, 1/3 of the lung, which is the middle part of the lung. The lower part of the lungs get used when we breathe deeply into the abdomen. So if we breathe like this, so that the stomach expands freely on every inhale, and then we exhale completely so the stomach goes in, and then again breathe deeply into the abdomen. So doing this, and this is something you can practice all the time, lying down, sitting up, standing up, walking when you are healthy, all the day. Every breath should be a breath and inhale into the abdomen. So that way we are now using the lower 1/3 of the lung more efficiently. Then what about the upper part of the lungs? Upper part of the lungs don't get used even in very heavy running and physical exercises. So the way to open up and expand and use the upper part of the lungs is to, there are several ways, but easiest way that anybody, even a sick person and a weak person can do, even lying down on the bed, is to raise your shoulders as you inhale. Raising the shoulder expands this chest cavity upwards, and so more air can go into the upper part of the lungs. So like this. Inhale, shoulders up. Exhale, shoulders down. And repeat this for as long as you can, okay? And then normal breaths, just make it deep and long. The longer you make your breath, the slower you make your breath, and the deeper you make your breath, the more oxygenation, as well as when you exhale fully and slowly, more detoxification, more impurities from the body go out through the breath. So that is one fundamental thing that you can do all the time. Even healthy people should do it so that their lungs work to their optimum capacity. Now, to give extra help to the lungs, here is what you can do. And everything I'm going to show, I am showing sitting up, but you can also do them lying down. So first one is hands, stretch your arms out. Take them as far back as you can so that the chest cavity expands completely. And then you inhale while doing this. So inhale while taking the hands back. And exhale as you bring the hands in front of you again. And inhale. Exhale. And repeat this as many times as you physically can. If you're too weak, if you can do it only 2 times, 3 times, that's fine. And with time, the strength will increase and you will be able to do more. Needless to say that the more you do, the better your lungs will function. So this is one way. The other way is raise your arms above the head as you inhale. and bring them down as you exhale. Inhale, exhale. And repeat this as many times as you can. There is no restriction as to you cannot do it more than 10 times or more than 20 times. The more you do, the more benefit. The next, and this can all be done lying down. Everything that I have shown, you can do lying down. So inhaling and pushing your shoulders up and down. I'm showing this at a medium pace. You can do it at this pace or even a slower pace. There is no need really to do it much faster. Healthy and strong people can do it faster, but then you don't get the benefit of mindfulness. When you do things slowly, you can be more mindful, you can follow the movement, you can follow the sensations happening. And it's that mindfulness component comes when you do things slowly in yoga. And that is very important for a mental peace perspective. You can do everything faster. You will still get the physical benefits, but you will not get the benefits that come from doing things slowly and mindfully. Okay, so what's the next thing we can do to help the lungs? Here is as you inhale, interlock your fingers like this and push your arms out while inhaling. And exhale, bring the arms back, rest your hands on the chest, and repeat this a few times. In the interest of making this video as compact and small as possible, I am going fast. So this is meant not for you to practice together with this video, but rather learn from it, make your own notes, write down exercise number 1, 2, 3, 4, and what we do, and then do it without the video. Okay, so this is the first position. Hands go straight out, parallel to the floor, or if you are lying down, then they go vertically up. This is first position. In the second phase, you move the arms out again as you inhale, but at a 135 degrees from the floor. So diagonally up. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. And repeat this. I recommend to try to do every breathing technique at least 5 times. Do it more if you can. The more you will do, the more strength will come and more oxygenation happens. And in the third phase, arms go vertically up above the head. So inhale, up, exhale, down. Inhale, up, exhale, down. Now, if someone is so weak that even raising the arms becomes very tiring and becomes hard, then somebody can assist them. If you have a helper, a family member, or a nurse or somebody, you can take their help and they can, with their assistance, the idea is to expand the chest cavity so lungs have more room to hold more air, right? So if you can do it yourself, that's great. If not, then somebody can help you. And if nothing else, then you can at least do this. Inhale to the maximum capacity, exhale. Inhale and exhale. This is something that anybody can do, even if you are very weak. And the other thing which I showed in the first few seconds is to deep abdominal breathing. This everyone can do. Okay, what else? I think that, okay, now if you have a little more strength, what you can do is do Kapalbhati, extremely beneficial breathing technique. It's not technically a pranayam, it's actually a cleansing kriya, a cleansing technique, because it cleanses the lungs and the whole system of toxins. So Kapalbhati is simply forceful exhalations, one after the other. The body inhales itself, You don't need to pay any attention to inhale. Let the body do its thing. You just exhale like this, medium pace. So that's Kapalbhati. Extremely, it's a beautiful technique. If you can do it for a couple of minutes at a time, that will be great help to your system. The other thing you will notice that when you finish doing Kapalbhati, you keep your eyes closed and just notice what is happening inside. And what happens is called Keval Kumbhaka, Keval Kumbhak, or Kevalya Kumbhak. Basically, breath stops or feels like it has almost stopped. And it's a very peaceful, very beautiful feeling that you can experience. And mind calms down. So it's also good not only for the physiology, but also for mental peace. And other final thing, whatever you do, and you can pick and choose. You may do one exercise at a time and finish the session, especially for people who are very sick and cannot continuously do these techniques for many minutes, but always end with Brahmari. If you can, then you can make Shanmukhi Mudra. If you know Shanmukhi Mudra, then you can make the mudra and then take a deep inhale. With the lips closed, make the sound of You will feel the vibration in forehead and head region behind your eyes. And repeat this a few times and then just observe what a peaceful feeling dawns in your mind. So this is Brahmari. I'm not giving a lot of explanation just because the video will become too long and it will be harder to share it with you. So keeping it short, I'm just giving the technique so you can start practicing. And later on in my normal weekly sessions, I can give more explanation about each technique, how it works. So Brahmari, if you can do this mudra, and you can do this lying down too, there is no restriction. Ideally, it is done sitting with spine straight, but for this video is specifically for people who are very sick. So you can do everything lying down. Now, if you are too ill or weak to make this mudra, then don't worry. Just close your eyes, take a deep inhale, and with the exhale, make the sound of You will still feel the vibration inside the head, and it's a very calming, very soothing vibration. It will help mentally in dealing with the situation that you or your family may be going through. And that is equally important. A stressed mind, an anxious mind creates more problems for the physiology. It doesn't help your lungs, it doesn't help your heart, it doesn't help your body either. So to the extent you can keep your mind calm, you will help your body's natural capacity to heal. At the minimum, if you can, then do the Brahmari with at least close your ears with your fingers, with your thumbs or index fingers, just plug your ears so that you hear the sound, you feel the vibration totally internally. And that will be much more effective than doing it without closing the ears. So like this. There are more nuances to Brahmari, but that is not for now. What I wanted to do in this video was to give you some essential techniques which are easy and simple to do. You can do them all lying down so that you can at least start practicing, and then you can ask questions and I can do more follow-up videos and sessions. So good luck, everybody. Stay healthy. Sarve bhavantu sukhinah, sarve santu niramayaha. सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवे. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. May all be healthy.